how does one even begin to capture how magical it is in here? I don't know if you can see, but it's so magical. It's a waterfall. Last night I took a trazodone and a half, which is 75 milligrams, and 2 quetiapine, which is 50 milligrams, and a quarter of a zopiclone, which I don't know how much that is. I think that was my second night taking the quarter of a zopiclone, and I took a Benadryl. So tonight I'll probably try to drop the zopiclone or have this little bitty piece that is left. It's probably an eighth of one or something. And I had weird dreams a little bit last night, like vivid dreams. I think that's the zopiclone. And I got up this morning and I made a smoothie, and throughout the day I've probably eaten 3 or 4 Lara bars. I'm kind of hungry. I wanted to go out for dinner last night, but I spent too much time at the beach, so I only had carrot sticks and hummus. So I think it was carrying over from that. And then I was up for a few hours and I just felt so tired. So I laid down and I was listening to an audio, and I took a nap for probably a good hour or 2, I don't even know. And I sort of felt like I could sleep all day. And finally, I woke up and I felt like, okay, now I want to be outside. And so I found this trail that I wanted to go to. And there's another little lake I want to walk around. And I want to go to this town sort of on the other side of where I'm at and keep exploring, because nature is very healing. And do more of that first, and then at some point do the little things I need to do, like get more Benadryl, get a few things from the thrift store probably. And I looked on Amazon and that DVD, Mad to Be Normal, is on there. I want to see it, and I can't stream it online where I'm at, so we'll see. I might get that. Look at these 2 trees hugging. Oh, wow, nice beach. So much life in this one little tide pool. When the crabs heard me coming, they ran and hid. There's those ones. one's eyes are peeking out of the water. It's funny. Can I pet you? I'm gonna pet you in case I hurt you. Until I grab you. The other thing I don't think I talked about yet was that the 2 sleep masks, that one that I have and the Dream Sleeper over top, works pretty well because there is light coming in the window, and I put those 2 on, and the first night it was a little uncomfortable, but now I'm used to it. And I don't think it blocks out all the light, but when I'm closing my eyes, even in the morning time, it feels dark. If I open them, then I can see the light underneath a bit, but I think it is good enough, especially since I'm in such a beautiful place. It's not like I need to compensate with so much darkness to crowd out the noise. That's all I really have to talk about today. I could have sat and watched those crabs forever, but I thought I would do a little bit of earthing in the sand. I'm wondering if I just naturally fell asleep for a nap today, if that means I'm a little over-medicated, or if it means that I can fall asleep more naturally, and maybe I don't need as much medication because I'm in a quieter, peaceful environment without the noise of the possibility of having conflictual interactions. If I were in a psych ward right now, I would definitely feel conflicted, and the conflictual energy within me would manifest as conflict in that environment, but getting myself out of the situation of the possibility of conflict lessens the chance of something like needing a psych ward happening. Nature is my psych ward. There's a seal. I waved at him. There it is. The same hummingbird just flew up to me twice. It flew right in front of my face and then went to a tree and then it came back. So cute. This morning I was a little bit enthralled by the news of the death of Kate Spade. Mainly because, yeah, of course it's tragic, and there were words on the news about it being possibly related to bipolar disorder, but it being controversial because an estranged sister is the one making those claims. And there was a suicide note to her daughter saying it's not your fault. And it's strange, yesterday I was talking about finding a way to end my life that would save the lives of others because of how 20% of people with bipolar do end up doing it. They do end up ending their lives. And if somebody who has it all materially, like Kate Spade or Robin Williams, they do it, then anyone can do it. Obviously anyone can do it. So I was talking about that yesterday, and then today I read that yesterday, that's what I was talking about to myself, is it's a huge possibility. And she was 55, I think. Well, so I might have 20 years left. I don't know. And then the other weird thing though is they found her hanging by a scarf from a doorknob, and I really don't know if that's possible to hang oneself from a doorknob. I think fight or flight would kick in and not want to, like, the body wouldn't want to die. Of course, I don't know for sure, but usually when people end their life by hanging, they're hanging. It seems kind of strange to me that she would be hanging from a doorknob, which generally those are not high enough to have the effect of gravity, unless one did something else. Maybe like take a bunch of pills to make one less aware, like one was sort of passing anyway, and then the hanging from a doorknob was kind of irrelevant, but who knows? The thing is, once the first bit of news comes out saying it's suicide and bipolar, That's what everybody thinks it is. It could be something else. Why do people think that trees are a carving canvas? I'm sorry, tree. I'll give you a kiss right on your lips here. Trying to apologize for what human beings are doing to them. I've got my earthing shoe attachment on. This forest feels so ancient. It's lovely, magical. It smells good. Reminds me of camping when I was 4 years old. Last night, I took 75 milligrams of trazodone and I took less than a quarter of Zopicone. I broke off a piece. So tonight I'm going to take the crumbs of the Zopicone and 75 trazodone. And then last night I took 50 milligrams of quetiapine. I took a Benadryl. So after tonight, after just taking the bits of Zopicone, tomorrow night I'll take 50 plus 12.5 of trazodone. I'll quarter the trazodone and see how low I can get down on that. And if I can totally taper off that slowly, then I will add back in the St. John's wort and the tryptophan, which I can't take if I'm on any kind of SSRI. Oh yeah, back to hanging oneself by a doorknob. I think that would be kind of like trying to drown oneself in a pool just by sticking one's head underwater. You can't do it. I don't know though. So I don't want to say, oh, it's so sad that Kate Spade ended her life when maybe she didn't. I don't want to go with what the news is saying. But, no, Robin Williams definitely did. And so anyone can end up ending their life. It can get so painful. I personally, I'll know better after this month. Like, this month is really telling about having a bit of a crisis and then getting oneself to nature and peace as opposed to creating drama. So this comes back to the epigenetic matrix thing. If I'm around people, places, things, ideas that are easy for me to channel those lower states into gestures to sort of pass it on. Those lower energy states, they really want to replicate themselves. They want to be passed on to another person, and one feels like they're in pain or anger, frustration, sorrow, guilt, blame, shame. One wants to put the blame on someone, wants to feel shame from somebody. But in an epigenetic matrix of nature, the trees aren't going to make one feel shameful, or can't blame the trees. And nature is already in an enlightened state of consciousness. So in so-called bipolar, one goes up to high energy, practically feels like everything's perfect, all-knowing, enlightenment at some points, everything's so magical, and then it drops out. Because the thing is that we're moving around in the human world, which is a human-created fiction over thousands and thousands of years. So that can't really sustain it. It can't be sustained because one eventually gets to see, wait a minute, this way I feel within, this overflowing of energy, it's not being mirrored back. This world would want to mirror back anger and conflict, and there's some good stuff in the human world too, but it's relative. It's not absolute, where nature is relative, though one could say one wouldn't want to be here in a big rainstorm or snowstorm or windstorm. You know, a branch could fall or a rock, and it could still happen, but wouldn't really be a big problem. So yeah, having the epigenetic matrix of nature, being able to walk in nature, breathe in the fresh air, be in sort of an original world before human construction, mostly, because humans constructed this trail, but be enveloped and surrounded by, instead of, you know, the last 1,000 years of momentum of human society and beyond, be around the last however many 1,000 years of nature. And it's getting warm. I need to take off my extra layer. So, in the past, when I've had a crisis, a couple years ago now, I was hospitalized, and that gives an outlet to perpetuate the chaos. That inner state, those lower states are chaotic, and they want to create more chaos. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with going to the psych ward, but when I had to go, it just created all this chaos. It feeds the need for that system. When, depending on how this month works out, because I could have a major crisis still, and I could end up in a nearby hospital. So I have to see. But for now, it seems like I had a bit of a crisis. I was able to keep the chaos to myself, most of it, and explain myself a little bit, and then get away. And besides the first day, where I felt a little bit of weird anxiety in my heart, I haven't felt anything since. I felt fine. So, no chaos created. Like, think of all the moving parts in the psych system that aren't moving because I got away from it. I didn't get trapped in that system of perpetuating chaos. I didn't allow that chaos to be perpetuated. And that takes a lot of learning. It really does. And I'm not saying that I'll be able to stay out of it indefinitely. I do have fears about possibilities of one day being found catatonic and being zapped with ECT or something. But like, there's so many possibilities still of getting entrapped in the system. Or one thing that happens to people who have a diagnosis a lot, or can happen, is they have a real medical problem and they keep getting thrown in the psych ward, and the medical problem never gets discovered. Or one goes in complaining of physical symptoms and they're like, oh, and one gets thrown in the psych ward. So knowing that too, I really do need to keep my body healthy. Oh, it feels so good just to be in a forest on a lake. People need to be taken to a forest, not a psych ward. Because we're absorbing all the chaos of humanity. And the ones that absorb the chaos and aren't able to participate in it like it's just fine get punished. But if one can get one to a scenario where it is just fine, then maybe one doesn't need to be punished by others. One can be healed by nature. And again, I don't know. I have to see how this month goes. If I'm able to taper off the meds and only be on 2 quetiapine again, that will be a good win. Maybe I could even try tapering off quetiapine. If I did though, I don't think I'd ever want to go back. I think I'd want to stay with nature. And there's nothing wrong with that. Some brains are designed to be outside of all the chaos. And that could be one of the problems when one gets into that really energetic state and everything seems so beautiful and magical. If one stays within mostly the human world, we're putting all the energy towards that. And I think, say we were totally energetic and then we were put in a forest and we'd be frolicking and feeling like nature is absolutely beautiful. I think what the world needs is a lot more human beings seeing that, because we need to save nature first. Not save nature, leave it alone. Be in it, appreciate its beauty, marvel at its wonders instead of tearing it apart for science and commerce. And I think that energy that comes in bipolar could be a big part of helping to see the beauty of that which is rapidly disappearing. And if we don't, I think the suicide thing is going to happen more rapidly, because life will be felt as meaningless. Wow, look at those houses up there. Imagine living in the middle of peace. Look, it's like a freshwater shrimp or something. Or lobster. So strange. Someone in the lake. Little fish. There's another one. Right here. I was gonna see if I could save this moth in this web, but the spiders already got him. What a great little spot to sit quietly. It's right on the edge of this rock. And it's just this little rock coming out from the woods. And then you go back into the woods. And then all there is the lake. I'm gonna try dipping my foot in. Cold, not that bad. I didn't mention yet that this morning I didn't take the uridine or the deserine or the SAMe. I'm not sure if there's another one, but I took methylfolate and I took a bit of inositol powder. So just testing out to see if I really need those extras, because I don't want to use them up if I need them for later in the month. And I took the brain gastrodin, alpha GCP, and CDP choline, and I will continue to take those. My feeling is, though, being in a situation like this, out in nature, sitting out the edge of a rock right next to the lake that the brain doesn't need so many nutrients in order to build and repair itself. So I'm wondering about this question of escapism versus maybe it's more economical to live in a beautiful space because I don't have to spend $200 a month on supplements. But I don't know that yet because I haven't tested it out. There's something about the brain needing to adapt itself to unnatural things versus being in a natural space and not needing to take extra of things in order to adapt. If it gets a bit warmer in the next couple weeks, I might try to go fruitarian for a little bit. We'll see. I say that now, but I'm just so lazy. I don't like to cook for myself, especially when in a new environment. And so I had sushi yesterday again, but it's a little bit too expensive to do that all the time. So we'll see what happens there. But I wanted to give an update on the supplement regime. I'm exploring somewhere new after that beautiful lakeside trail. I love that place. I'll definitely go back. Now I'm along the ocean and I bought a few candies. I just had 2 apples and I felt like getting a few candies. Partly because the little store I went to still sells these candies for 5 cents a piece. Other places, they sell it for 10 cents or they've stopped selling them separately where you can pick. So this was a score. And I was thinking about how maybe one day I won't feel the need to talk about anything and record it, but I'll record the beauty of nature. Because I don't know if there's much beauty in trying to resolve the self. That part is still ugly, so yeah. I also haven't had any coffee since the night I couldn't sleep, which was last Tuesday. So for over a week. I quit coffee a long time. Last year when I was in California, I just automatically quit. Being in that environment and that beauty, I didn't really feel the need to have that extra stimulation in order to make myself feel up for the day. I think I just saw a whale. No, I don't know if that's a whale. Maybe a seal.